Good day and welcome to this episode of DMV Muscles Live. Today we have a special treat. We're talking to the very cool and very fit and very driven Lesley. How are you today, Lesley?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I cannot complain. I am not as fit and healthy as you, but I am so eager to talk to you about what's going on in your life, how you dealing with the coronavirus, and what it's like to be a IFBB pro. But
Mhm.
as always, I want to share with people. I want to share with people your fitness journey.
Right.
And I think it's so important for not only I think you to just share your story, but I think it's inspirational for other people to hear about your fitness journey. And we
Mhm.
talked a little bit earlier, and your fitness journey wasn't as simple as maybe some other people's fitness journeys. So let's talk. Let's start back, and I like to go back to the beginning. When
Okay.
when did you first become like active? And you could go back to you were 3 and you started walking, or you were 2, and then just take us back through high school, and then when you decided I just want to be a fitness athlete, and then we'll stop there and we'll pick up. Okay? So
Okay.
let's tell me about your fitness journey. Let's go for it.
All right. So let's see. I've always been into fitness. I've done all the sports you can name. I've done track, flag football, volleyball, softball, soccer. Let's see what else. Ice skating. I remember being in the Wizard of Oz as a kid, being a scarecrow. Ballet. My parents kind of just pretty
Oh,
much
hold on.
encouraged.
I have to stop you right there because every African American, you talk about you're in the Wiz. You say the Wiz or the Wizard, the
The
Wizard of
Wizard.
Oz. Okay,
The
Wizard
Wizard.
of Oz. Okay, because you say you say the Scarecrow, you're thinking of Michael Jackson. Okay, all right, no, all right. So
No, as a kid, they did like a musical on ice for the Wizard of
uh
Oz. So
on
you were,
ice,
hmm
so you're ice skating as well.
yeah, I did ice skating when I was
Wow.
younger, and I was a scarecrow
Okay.
amongst a bunch of other scarecrows. It wasn't just me; like it was like a school play, but bunch of kids.
Okay. All right. All
On
right.
ice.
All right. Please continue. Please continue. I won't interrupt again. You're talking to your fitness journey. You ran track. You did some other things. You even were a scarecrow in a play, The Wizard of Oz. Keep going and keep going. You have me. You have me. I'm there. All
Okay.
right.
So yeah, and then I've also done basketball. But if I had to pick the top three, like I guess sports, so to speak, I would say for my younger years, I would say it would be basketball, track and field, and flag football. Definitely love flag football. I played that co-ed here in the DMV a lot, right outside Reagan when they would have the games over the weekend. So definitely had fun doing that. But how I got into bodybuilding was interesting. I was going through a period of time to where things just going through some personal problems where I was just like, okay, I have two options here. I can dwell on what's going on in my life, or I can put this attention towards something else positive and just redirect my focus. So after talking to some friends who have done bodybuilding, they were like, when you train, all you're focused on is when you're going to eat, when you're going to sleep, like, and then when you're going to lift. It's really hard to pay attention to anything else. So I was like, okay, well, let me try this. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made because I was not only able to kind of build myself up emotionally back up, I was also able to see my body transform from one thing to another. And I've always kind of been a slim person, but as far as real defined muscle, I that wasn't really my strong suit. So seeing my body transform from one thing to another was just to me it was fascinating. And then also the discipline. It did kind of put me in a space to where the focus that I was putting somewhere else that was negative, I was able to put it all on myself at that point, and it helped mentally. And then I was also able to connect with so many other people within the industry who were either going through things or who just had like-minded, I guess, like they like some of the same things. So I've met so many people by doing bodybuilding. So I think it was just like, to me, it's a decision I would never change. I started it in I want to say 2015 is when I started. And my first show was in Maryland, and it was in the fall. And of course, I would pick a
Oh,
show that
let
you had
me
to prep.
let me stop you for just one moment. Sorry about that. So when you say show,
Hmm.
because it's actually a show, is that a competition or so just to clarify for people that aren't familiar with the sport, because I
Hmm.
think bodybuilding is a sport and has different tiers and all that stuff. So when you say show, I don't want people thinking at home that you just came out and you had to. It wasn't a because sometimes with sometimes people may assume when you say show that it's a beauty pageant, and in a
Right.
way it is an appreciation of what you've accomplished with your working out, but it's
Hmm.
not necessarily typically not like a show. You're not coming out and singing and dancing. It's
No.
actually a competition, right? Okay,
Yeah,
cool. All
a
right.
competition, definitely a competition. And that's the one thing I can say, kind of like what you said, a lot of people, they kind of see the glam, they see the end product, but they don't really see the back end that you had to do to get there. They don't see the sometimes 12 weeks of work or more that you had to do to get to that 10 seconds when you're on the stage. So it's a lot of work for what people kind of see at the very end. And so, yeah, it's definitely not a beauty pageant by any means. Definitely a competition. I want to say my first show, I was able to win novice, which is the category which you do. Well, I'm a bikini competitor. So the novice category is when you've never competed and it's you haven't won an open also. An open is kind of a category to where it's for bikini, but or they have it for all the classes, but anyone can compete in it. Novice is one of those categories that you can only compete in up to a certain point. So I won both my novice classes, and then I got second, or I got fourth in open, which I kind of at that point when you're like when you do your first competition and you get first place in two of the categories, and then you get fourth, which at that time the top five were nationally qualified. So doing all that at the beginning, you kind of get hit with the bug, and you're like, "Ooh, I think I know what I'm doing because I'm winning." But then you get to your next show, it's not always the same case. So it's kind of like an uphill battle sometimes. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you don't. But that's just the world of the competition. So that's pretty much how I got started.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we
No.
talked a little bit earlier, just to be candid, and
Mm-hmm.
while we were talking, you shared that there was a moment early in your bodybuilding career where you had a major setback, and I want to see if we can share that moment because for a lot of people, the setbacks and the challenges are what stop them in their fitness journey, and they never make it to the point where they reach their goals or they make that breakthrough moment.
Right.
So if you have a moment, share with us where you were, I guess, in your fitness journey at the time, and what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and even some of the nuances, and then how you overcame that.
Okay, sure. So I mentioned that I started in 2015. As I was getting ready to kind of go through my season in 2016, I had finished the season for the most part. I like to kind of, after learning of prepping over the summer for a fall show, that it wasn't for me. I try to keep my season to where I'm done usually by midsummer, and then I pick back up again later on in the fall. So I try to kind of give myself a break. Um, but in 2016, as I was in my off season, I had a situation too where my lungs fully collapsed. I'm asthmatic and apparently extremely allergic to grass. Wasn't fully aware at the time. And that weekend when it happened, it was 4th of July weekend in 2016. I decided to cut the grass. Usually my parents cut the grass or my dad cuts it for me, but they were out of town at the family reunion. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. So I did it myself. And as a result of that, I ended up having a severe reaction to where my lungs fully collapsed and I was in a coma for 11 days. And obviously that shut my season down. So with that happening, coming out of the coma, I ended up getting drop foot, which is pretty much where my feet didn't have any dorsiflex. So my feet would not lift up as if you were normally walking to where they just were very flat. So I wasn't able to lift my feet up or down. Um, and with that, I had to pretty much learn how to walk, learn how to write, pretty much function all over again as just a person in general. I remember my friends coming to the hospital and actually having to like feed me. It was a very humbling experience to have like one of your friends feeding you like peaches out of a cup, and just probably 2 months ago you were doing it yourself. So it's just one of those things that really humble you. And I remember even in the hospital, because I had to stay at the hospital the entire summer. The nurses knew how much I loved like just competing in general. So they would give me a cane to where I could just kind of like lift and just slowly get my strength back because they knew it was something that was my form of therapy. Um, and then from the hospital, I had to go to rehab and I had to pretty much, that's where they taught me how to walk again. I had these braces that were on my ankles that I had to loop into my sneakers to kind of force my feet to go up. And then I had to stay with my parents for a month. So that entire process was my whole 2016 summer. So it wasn't until the fall that I was cleared to go back to the gym. And while staying at my parents' house, they were able to kind of make me a makeshift gym in the basement. So I would just slowly start to just lift what I could. And then once I got back into the gym, it was just like full speed. I felt like I thought I was strong before, but going through that entire experience after the fact, I felt like a superhero because not only did I learn how to walk all over again, I kind of fought my way back and I felt that there was a different level of strength because sometimes it was like one moment you're like, oh, everything's great. And then the next thing it's not, and you're not able to walk. So you start to appreciate the little things that you just did not appreciate or you took for granted prior. So it wasn't until, there was a show in Baltimore, The Gladiator, that I competed in that March. So it wasn't until 2017 that I was actually able to get back on stage. So from there, it just picked up and I kind of just kept going and I had to requalify for, nationals just because my qualification had expired. So, within 2017, I got qualified again at Gladiator, and then I did my first national show to get my pro qualification. And boy, was that an eye-opener, because I definitely did not do well as expected, but I was still very proud of myself just because of where I was prior.
Okay, so you've kind of given us a glimpse into the process
Hmm.
of going. I think the goal is to get a pro card, right?
Correct.
But then, so you're saying that you go to a show and then you compete at the show. And when
Hmm.
you compete at a show, I guess at a local level or regional level, then it qualifies you to compete at is it a national level or at a higher level of competition?
It's a national pro qualifying show.
Okay. And then what's your goal at that point when you go out to compete again?
So when you do the national pro qualifying show, the goal is to walk away with a pro card. And then from there, you'll be able to compete amongst the various pros on a pro level. So you have the level of where you're just competing um, on a local level, and then you have the the national shows where it's the pro qualifying shows, and then you have the pro shows. So there's kind of three, if you want to look at it on the outside, there's three levels of shows.
Okay.
So to speak.
Right. Now, so we're talking about this journey. We're talking about the first time you did a show and you didn't do so well, and you talked about your major setback that you've had, and you talked about having to qualify all over again and compete again, and now you were ready to compete in these pro shows. And the first pro show, you did not do so well. And I guess it's like after, because you had the momentum building, momentum got you there, and then you go to the pro show, and now
Mhm.
you're competing as a professional athlete because, well, not necessarily not yet, but you're competing to become a professional athlete, right? So you had that moment, you went out there, you tested the waters, coming from the regional ranks or not necessarily the lower ranks, but to another level of competition,
Mhm.
and it was I would say a humbling experience. So
Okay.
take us from that humbling experience to what I want to say the glory, because this is a fitness journey type story, right? So take us from there, that first competition on a higher level, all the way through to the happy moment.
Okay. So my very first pro qualifying show, I did Universe in Teaneck, New Jersey, and let's just say I came in second to last in my class, and it was definitely a mind-boggling situation because of course everyone codes in and they're like, I got this, I got this, I got this, and then next thing you know, you're like, nope, don't have this. So after I was able to kind of gather my thoughts and collect myself, just went back to the drawing board and came back and did it again the following year. But this time I came in second. So I missed my pro card by 1 point. So if you realize I went from second to last, and then I came back and did it the second time and ended up second. And I was so close. So I'm like, okay, I'm 1 point away. I have to come back and do it again. So the following year, last year, I went back and that was my glorifying moment. I won and I got my pro card.
Cool, cool. Awesome. So you're like, we are the champions, my friend. And I don't have the images to show right now, but could you describe that? Like describe that moment and what do you like? Because a lot of times you get these cool trophies, and they're not conventional trophies all the
Mhm.
time. You get describe it. Describe some of the accessories or the things that you were given as a pro winner.
Yeah. So I got one of the bikini trophies. So it looks like it's just a little woman with a bikini on it with a bikini figure. And I remember, as Derek and I were talking prior, I have a cat. And I remember telling my cat, yes, I talk to my cat. I'm pretty sure all of us talk to our animals. I remember telling him, I was like, Max, I'm going to bring you back a lady. I'm going to bring you back a little bikini lady. And of course, he just looked at me and walked away. So I actually brought him back a bikini lady. And I remember that moment very vividly. I remember standing on the stage. And of course, the national shows, if anyone's been to them and they've supported their friends, loved ones, those shows are long and bikinis last. So it's one of those things where it's a long day. You've seen a whole bunch of athletes and you're just at the very end, like, let's just wrap this thing up. So I just remember my parents were in the they were on, I want to say like the right hand side of the stage and along with some of my other loved ones, and they were just like jumping with joy because they could tell, they knew from prejudging, they could just see like the vision for the nighttime. They already knew. And I kind of was like one of those people where I'm like, I've been in this moment before. I don't want to get too excited until I know exactly what's about to happen, but it just felt differently. The whole entire day felt different. And then when you're standing on the stage and they've called everyone else, and then next thing you know, they say you're new as IFBB Pro and you hear your name, it's a surreal feeling because you've sat there and you've seen others get the same thing go before you. And then when you get it, it's just like, it's your time. So I definitely remember the moment. And I feel like my mom had a video, and I think they told me that I started to walk before they said the name.
She knew. Claim. Hold on.
They were like, you started to walk before you said they even called you. And I was like, well, I was the last person. So
Claim your victory. That's awesome. That is awesome.
yeah.
So you've taken that. You've taken that fitness journey. You've taken your accomplishment, and that was what last July or something, or
Mhm.
when? Okay,
Yeah.
and you built on it, and you've been industrious, and you're an entrepreneur, and you
Mhm.
have things that you're doing, and one of the latest things that you're doing is that you have a clothing line.
Correct.
So
Yep.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about how where the concept of this business or leveraging your business or whatever came about, and then let's talk about it a little bit. And I have your website, so once you get to talking about maybe your website, I'll pull it up for you. Okay? All
Okay.
right, let's go with it. All right.
All right. So, essentially, I've always wanted to own my own like clothing line, but I was trying to figure out a niche that spoke to me. And being from someone who always is involved in sports, I was like, why not do a fitness line? I'm always in fitness gear. I'm always working out. So it's just one of those things that came natural to me. But I wanted to be able to do it to where it spoke to me. So that's pretty much how I came up with the name. The name of my company is called Dimensional Athletica. And what I did in picking out the name is I wrote up down a whole bunch of words. So I'm a word person. I like words because you can speak power through them. So what I like to do is I wrote down all the words, and the one word that spoke to me was dimensional because I see it as dimensions are realities, and you can be one moment here, one moment there. And that's happened to me. So over time, you can start to define your own dimensions with your thoughts, with everything that you do, your actions, your dreams, your goals. So you define them. So that's why I picked the word dimensional. Athletica because I want to have my brand kind of encourage people to go after their dreams, go after their goals, and you're going to have bumps in the road. That's just life, but and you'll have detours, but let those detours kind of like take whatever path, but still get to the final goal, regardless of how many steps you have to make.
So let's look at this website. So you have the business, and you have this website, and let's look at the website, and let's. I'm just going to go with the homepage. We'll talk about what the clothes are like, or what you're offering through the website, and how that reflects on your personal brand.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially, I offer seamless sets for women. The outfit that I have on now is the one that's pictured here, the camo set that actually just came out. And then we also have the dimensional tank here that ties up however you want to wear it. And then we have the crop tops for the sweatshirts for where the dimensions. You pretty much create them, you define them, and you transform them. So those are pretty much our product offerings currently.
All right. It seems to be a very nice website, and is up there. All right. Cool. Cool. All right. So that's fantastic. So you've leveraged your fitness journey into a business, and what's and I think we see the glamorous part. We see the end result. You know, the win. We see the fit and trim body. But you mentioned some, I guess earlier, that it's a challenge. What's the season like? So let's talk about the season. I believe you mentioned it's like you eat. All you're thinking about is eating and working out, right? But
Yeah.
what is that like? Let's talk about that just a little bit, and then we'll just close it out. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So the one thing I can say when you're in prep, everyone around you, unfortunately, is in prep. So your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, everyone who you encounter that's in your close circle, unfortunately, feel the vibes of prep. So the one thing I can say, like for me, it's I get so laser focused. And I'll have a routine. I do my cardio in the morning. I go to work, and then I will do the lifting, the strength training in the evening, and then I get all my meals in, and it's repeat. For me, I like to kind of keep my social interactions kind of limited just because I don't want any temptations. It's a little easier now after several years of doing it. You kind of know what you can and can't do. So it's easier to kind of just not be tempted. But others around you definitely feel like they're in prep as well. And they're like counting down to these shows just like you are. So you can go back to like this normal world with them. So that's essentially what prep is like. Prep or quarantine is different. I definitely, right now I'm in my off season, still dabbling, trying to figure out if I'm going to jump into a show for later on this year. Because the show that I did have picked out, unfortunately, 3 weeks out, it did get postponed. And I know a lot of the shows are being put back on the schedule. So I'm just trying to figure out, do I want to get back on or do I want to wait it out and just grow? Because there are some areas to where I feel like I can grow physically, that this may be the better time to grow instead of trying to jump in a little too soon. So,
All right. Well, thank you for coming and sharing and being so wonderful and so candid and sharing your story. We really appreciate you. And take a moment and just let people know how they can support you, how they can reach out to you or contact you if you're open to that.
yeah.
Just give us a few things.
All right. So if you're on Instagram, I'm on Bella Bikini, L underscore Bella underscore Bikini. The brand that I'm wearing right now is Dimensional Athletica. That's Dimensional underscore Athletica. And there's the website as well here. But feel free if you have any questions about competing and just in general what it's like to be a competitor. Feel free to reach out. I do answer DMs from people. People have reached out and they've told me I've inspired them. I'm just an average person, just like the rest of you. There's nothing special. I just try to just live my life and live into my truth. And if that helps somebody, I feel at that point I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you for sharing again. And we'll wrap it up here. And I want to say to people that may see this video, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting DMV Muscles as we try to share you fitness journeys and fitness tips and fitness resources like that website that you mentioned. And of course, the wonderful trainers that we have in the DMV. Let's make sure we reach out and support them to the best of our ability. This is a very challenging time for all types of business owners and professionals in the fitness industry. So let's do what we can to support them. There's Zoom trainings, there's virtual trainings, there's so many trainings out there. And let me just say for the record, my good friend Nikki the Fitologist just mentioned, I just commented on such a beautiful spirit. Thank you, Nikki, for the shout out. And I just want to thank everyone out there. So, as always, please do what you can to visit, follow, like, and share. This will be on YouTube. This will remain on Facebook. And visit our website, dmvmuscles.com. I'm Derek Kinney, your host. And I want to thank you so much, so much, so much again for supporting this program. And thank you again to Lesley for being such a wonderful and inspiring spirit. All right, you
Thank
guys have a great one.